Hey guys, Dave Boyce here with Hit the Road with Dave Boyce with my special guest, the one and only Matt Bullen. Matt, how you doing, brother?
Hey man, how are
Man, we met 3 years ago. I think you're one of the nicest guys I've ever met in the business. So when you said you wanted to be on the show, I was like, let's do it. So
I don't mean to take out. Should I turn my air conditioner on?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I'll edit that out.
I just figured, like, for the feed. Sorry.
No problem.
Great plug, though. Great plug.
Before we get into all the wrestling craziness and your career and stuff, I like to always start with the man behind the wrestler. First of all, is your real name Matt Bullen?
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about your childhood and growing up, Matt Bullen.
I just grew up in a military family, so my dad was posted a lot, so we spent a lot of our time between BC and Ontario growing up, and he retired, I don't know, I think it was when I was like 15 or 16 and we moved out here.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, really, that was pretty much my childhood. I don't remember much, because we were only ever in like different cities and stuff for like a couple of years at a time, right?
Okay.
And it was on to the next one, one.
Yeah, I was in a military family as well, so it was like you get settled in like Petawawa, and
Right.
2 years later you're in Halifax.
Right.
Did you have a hard time like keeping friends, or did you?
Yeah, because like one of the places we moved when I was younger was like the Queen Charlotte Islands, right? So it's this like little island between like Hawaii and Vancouver.
Oh, okay.
I believe I'm not anything to do with geography, so I might be wrong on that. But anyway, so there's an island that was about, I don't know, like 30 kilometers in distance, and it was natives and military.
Oh, okay.
So, and I spent 4 years of my childhood there, right? So, later on, like as I became older, like you mentioned Petawawa, I lived there. I spent I think that was the longest stint, was Petawawa, like 5 years. So I got some friends from there, friends from BC.
Right.
Yeah, and then my friends here that I met when we came here.
Okay. So growing up, were you always a wrestling fan, or did that come later on in life, or?
You want to hear a funny story?
Sure.
Just because
That's why we're here.
Just because it's you. I was watching a movie with my dad, and it was that Hulk Hogan movie where he's dressed up as a fairy.
Mr. Nanny?
Yes.
Classic.
And, I was like 5, maybe 6 at the time, right? Just was in awe of this guy because he was like crazy big, right?
Right.
My dad's like, oh, he's a wrestler. His name's Hulk Hogan. And I remember that, I think we got Clash of the Champions, or we ordered it, but it was that one where Hogan came out, like I think it was his debut when he beat Ric Flair for the belt.
Yeah, it was his debut for WCW.
So, and then I seen that and I was just like, oh shit, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then because where we lived out on the West Coast at the time, we got a lot of WCW out there, so we got like TNT for free.
Okay.
So like we didn't get a lot of like the Monday Night Raw stuff, and so I grew up on like Nitro and Thunder and the NWO
And who are some of your favorite like role models, or like when you're watching, who are some of your favorite wrestlers watching? With the big guys?
Yeah, I always just thought, like, nothing against like the little guys. I mean, they're phenomenal at what they do, but it's just something about like big guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like I like the Kevin Nashes. I like this. Not that Scott Steiner, I guess, would be considered like a big guy by stature, but by girth. Right. So guys like that, guys like Scott Hall. Even and of course, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I thought Goldberg at the time was cool when he was like 200 and whatever, undefeated, right? So yeah, that's what and then when we moved, I can't even remember where we moved to. I think it might have been here. So when I got exposed to like the DX stuff, or maybe it was Ontario, and I got exposed to like the DX, like the Raw, and I was just in the Rock and that whole Attitude Era, and I was like a teenager at that point, right? Like,
and were you attending any local wrestling shows at the time? Like, were the wrestling shows where you were living? You were like, oh, I should go check this stuff out as well live, or did you just go see any WWE when it came in town?
No, I never. The only time I was ever at a live WWE show was I got invited a few years back to one over at the Forum. I can't even remember what year that would have been, but it was, I got invited to like a house show. That was my first time ever being there, like to a WWE event. One of my stints living in BC, my buddy Luke, his dad, was involved in wrestling and knew the wrestling promoters that I believe. I keep saying ECCW, but I might not be right about that.
Right.
So anyway, so we were kind of exposed to it. Like we met like guys like Vance Nevada and Vid Vane, Scotty Mack, like those type of like the local guys
Yeah.
that are known out on the West Coast, right?
Cool.
Yeah.
So at some point in your life, you were sitting there and you thought, I can do this. I'm gonna try to do this. So at what point where in your life were you that you decided I want to do this?
Because I never decided that I wanted to do it. I won't mention his name because I got a lot of heat for stuff that I did in the past. But pretty much I was working like I was a big kid, right? I used to work out a lot. I was pretty jacked up. So I was working security when I was like 17 years old, right?
Okay.
Like just doing movie set security. Like
How big were you at 17?
probably like as big as I am now, but just
Really?
more ripped. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's probably I think like about 265 to maybe like 250 in that range. So I could pass for like being like 22, 23, maybe even older, right? And so anyways, I was working movie set security, like just sitting in houses on like film sets. So they don't want you to touch anything because they got to go back and film that scene the next day.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I was doing that, and there was this guy, this older guy, and he's like, "Oh, I'm a wrestler. I used to wrestle for Grand Prix, right? Back then, like you just couldn't like get on the internet and look like a bunch of stuff up, right?" So anyways, so like he's like, "Oh, you should come and wrestle," and he told me like how much money was involved, and he's like, "Oh, we're training," and so he tells me where the training, and I go out there, and it's like this BS like rig or whatever, right? But then, so anyways, I did like a little bit of training, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna book you on this show for like this much money," and I was just like, "Oh, okay, well that's pretty not bad money."
Right.
And then, but what I didn't know at the time is that he was backyard, right?
Yeah.
So
when you got there, it was in literally like outdoors somewhere, or was it just?
yeah, it was, yeah, but it wasn't like I've seen worse setups than that from legit guys.
Right.
Excuse me, like when I was at West and stuff, like they used to do the same thing.
Right.
Right, it was nothing. Most of the time, I don't think they wanted the expense of like renting a facility or whatever.
Was he the trainer, or were there other people?
No,
wrestlers?
he was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how much training did you have before you showed up at this?
Not much. Not much. It was literally like, this is how you take a bump. This is how you take a hip toss. This is how you throw a punch. This is like a couple quick combinations to do, and you're booked in a match like in a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he was probably just attracted because of the size of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you the biggest guy there?
Yeah, well, it was like I guess like the Jordan Chase mentality, right? Like you get booked because you got a physique.
Right.
Except at that time I was new here. I didn't know who to ask advice to. I didn't know that like Pete and Gary and Mike were like the guys around here, right?
Right.
So I just took somebody at their word, and by the time I realized that it was really bad, like, oh, okay, I really did a bad thing here. I was already too far into
Right.
And
Erase it.
Yeah, and when I tried to turn to these guys, they were just like,
okay,
right, you know what I mean, and rightfully so, because I mean, on top of it, I was an arrogant prick, right? So that didn't help matters.
So you show up at this place, your first match. Is this when you debuted as? Was it? JB Havoc? Was that your even name?
No, that was that one I used for the NWA.
Okay,
thing.
so your first match, you were Matt Bullen?
No, I was I don't know.
I love wrestlers' first names.
I don't
like
know.
when they first break into the...
What was it? Justice something.
Justice?
Something.
And did they tell you, did you have gear? Did it show up? You had gear?
I had gear. I did that part alright. I had the boots with the kick pads, the knee pads, the tights.
Right.
I got like a robe made.
Okay.
I only wore like once and somebody stole it.
Yeah. And do you remember who you faced? Who was your very first opponent? Do you remember, or is it too far back?
No, I just remember like, I know like I was probably nervous, like cause I still get nervous to this day, like before I go out there.
Yeah, rightfully so.
You know, because sometimes those crowds are big, or you're put in a position where it's like you gotta deliver.
Yeah, I actually get more nervous when the crowd is small.
Really?
Do you ever notice it? Because you feel like, how can you go out and get a small crowd riled up, like,
right,
as opposed to 500?
Well, I guess
they feed off each other, and it's I find it easier. So
yeah, well, fair enough.
yeah. So you're doing this backyard stuff. How long were you with these guys?
Oh, not long at all. What happened with those guys is I kind of realized like what was going on there, and I tried to pursue other options, and nothing was available. And then I was contacted by another backyard company, and they offered me some pretty decent money to go do some shows,
Right.
and so I went and I did them, and again, that just...
Was that back around the same time that RAW was going here in the Halifax and stuff?
No, I think that was after that.
It was after that. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're talking 2003, 2004.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at some point, we were talking before we started this about the NWA belt that's sitting over there, which I was admiring.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the NWA. Is that where JV Havoc was born?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the name came from my cousin that passed away.
Okay.
His name was John Bullen.
Okay.
So I just decided to use those abbreviations to honor him, right? Because it was just one of those things where we were going to try it out to see how it went. And,
Right.
we kept the roster like pretty much the costs were minimal, other than investing into some belts, because I don't believe that replica belts are the way to go,
Mm-hmm.
right? Giving guys, like myself and Jim Joyce and Nick and Joey, like those guys, like another place to work. And
Right.
so that was just the intentions with it, and then it kind of, got a little bit of momentum because everybody's like, oh my god, the NWA. But if you ever did your research, the NWA, every time we came here, always shit the bed.
Yeah.
Right? We didn't know that at the time.
Right.
But yeah, so we just ran that, and then, and then there was just some issues with Chuck, and just decided that it was better just to nix it than to, because at that time I felt like and probably did at that time, still not have a great reputation, or people were like, okay, well, what's he doing coming back around again?
Right.
Right?
Okay.
So my thing is, I'm going to show up that day, I'm going to pay everybody. If the ring doesn't show up, then...
They're
at
still
least-
paid.
Yeah, and nobody can say anything bad about me, right?
Right.
And it was the same deal after the show, like, Steve got beat up in that match. There was just some other BS that went on, and then it was just probably the best thing to do was just to nix it. Because again, I don't want that to bring me down at that point. Because I was trying to, I don't know, like, I guess it wouldn't make a comeback because
Right.
I never had it to come back to, but
Right.
trying to get somewheres.
Was this before or after you started with UCW? Was this
No, this was, well, the funny thing is during this time when we're putting this show together, I get introduced to Tyler and Jason.
Okay.
Right? And so they're kind of, like, well, we're coming in and waiting for Chuck.
For UCW. Because Jason was the camera guy.
Right. Yeah, so I got introduced to them or whatever, and so anyways, when we nixed the NWA thing, they one of them called me and was like, do you want to come work for UCW? I said, no, I don't want to work for UCW. Then they said, well, we can get you some alright money. We really just want you to come in and cut some promos.
Right, and why didn't you want to work for UCW?
Just because I didn't like Chuck.
Okay.
Yeah,
fair enough.
That's what it boils down to. And I say that I don't like him, and that's not the case. Like, when I've been like there was a few times, like, we did a show somewheres, I think it was like maybe Tattamagush or something, and like it was me, him, and Jim, like, traveling together. He is a cool guy.
Right.
Like, really get along with him. Like, cool guy. But then just when he's around other people, it's that, screw Bolin, he's a backyard, whatever, like that, right? So he's just two-faced, and you can't, and if I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do something that's going to put my body on the line or put somebody else's body on the line, I don't want to be dealing with somebody that I don't even know if is going to pay me or...
Right. But you did wrestle for UCW, so you either changed your mind or you break. Okay.
They had me do a couple matches with, I did one with Dylan, I did one with Joey and Dylan in a triple threat, I did one with Steve, and then I did a tag match with Riddick, and I think that was pretty much all I did for UCW in terms of matches. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that where you met Jim Joyce? You'd mentioned Jim a few times.
No, he was doing the NWA thing with me. Yeah.
Is that the first time you met him, or were you guys friends? Because it seems like you guys have this great chemistry. So I always wondered how the friendship started. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, back then.
I don't remember how I met him.
Okay.
To be actually 100% honest with you.
Because when I was doing my research, like, I seemed like, even as far back as I could find pictures of you and stuff, there was Jim.
Yeah.
So I was wondering how that relationship started.
Well, I just told him, like, like when he wanted to break into it, and I kind of put him, like, in the contacts of the people to get talk to about getting broken into the business. Mm-hmm. And and I always just kind of like when Wrestlecentre came up, it was, hey, can, bring Jim, let me, Jim come with me or whatever, right? Because I just liked it, like I years ago I broke my back, right? So I'm not years and years ago when I was in great shape, I could do backflips, front flips, what the hell ever.
Right.
I broke my back, I can't do much stuff anymore, right? So I was like that big bully type guy, and then you have the little a loudmouth running around you.
Yeah.
That people want to.
Yeah, because everyone seemed it seemed to be over.
Right.
Everyone really enjoyed it. So.
Yeah. So it was just like when I decided that I was going to leave UCW. Not that I decided I was going to leave, but when I left UCW and went to Wrestlecentre, I was like, can Jim come and. And then, I voiced a couple times and I didn't think that he was being used the greatest or whatever. But then, he hits me, then he gets put into a great spot in the mine and JP's match with Kurt Angle, hits me in the head with the chair, cost me the match, was supposed to have this blow off, and then he's next thing you know, he's refereeing for TCW.
Oh, so you took that personally.
Well, I didn't take it personally, but it's like, you spend 2 years trying to get something, right? And you don't leave after 6 months. You don't leave after a year. You don't leave after a year and a half. Or you leave. You finally get an opportunity after 2 years of just waiting to get an opportunity, and you do a great job. You knock it out of the park. People want to see me kill you, whatever, destroy you. So there's money there. There's tickets sold there, and then you just leave.
Right. The last Wrestlecentre show I was at, you guys did the thing where you picked him up and threw him out on the forum. was that?
That was my idea.
That was your idea. And that's the last time you've seen him?
No, I've seen him.
He's still on the forum?
No, I've seen him since then, but...
you brought up Wrestlecentre, so when did the idea of Wrestlecentre first come to you? Or when did they come to you? Like you said, Jason and Tyler approached you and said, we're starting our own company, we want you to be involved in it. How did that all come about?
Yeah.
Because you were there since day one.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I got told about Wrestlecentre and some of the guys they were looking at bringing in, and they told me straight up though, they're like, well, I don't think you're up to the skill level that we're bringing in, so we'll have to figure out a good way to utilize you. I said, no, I said, I understand that, right? And, and the next thing you know, I get a call from Chuck, right? And, well, if you stay with me, I'll offer you this much.
Right.
I go back to Tyler and Jason, hey, this is what Chuck's saying, right? Not that I was trying to wiggle them for more money because,
at the end of the day, it's a business, right?
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, too, the only reason why I got anywhere in UCW was because Tyler and Jason were writing my stuff, and a couple other guys' stuff, like that they were doing Steve and those guys. So it wasn't just the money thing. It was also knowing how okay, I don't know in what capacity I'm going to be booked, but I know that I'm going to be booked in a somewhat decent capacity, and these guys know what my limitations somewhat are, like. In terms of what I can do, what I can't do.
And it was their idea that you came in as Matt Bullen, like your real name, or were you still wrestling as JP Havoc were you still wrestling up until Wrestlecentre?
No, I think pretty much when I other than the first couple UCW shows I did, once Tyler and Jason fully took over the writing and creative on that stuff. I got switched to Matt Bullen then.
Right.
Yeah.
And the whole security guard gimmick, was that born at Wrestlecentre? How did that come about?
Oh, it was just who was it? Was it Titus and JP? Was that match that they needed a security guard to go in and
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and they just needed somebody that looked like a security guard to run through. This is what I was told. They needed a security guard they need somebody that looked like a security guard to be able to run through, hop the barricade, nail JP.
Right.
Because they want the crowd to initially think that it was a security guard, right? And then I guess from what I gathered was Jason just liked the way it looked.
Okay.
I figured, okay, well, that's what you're going to
do.
Yeah, and I didn't like it.
You didn't?
No, I tried to get added to it.
What ideas did you have for
I figured, maybe doing the biker thing, or, I like the idea of, doing the tough guy gimmick, but I don't associate security guards or police officers with being,
But really, no one ever actually called you security guard on that day, but you still wore the shirt, and it was just your thing. But
it's the weird,
no one said, "Oh, there's security guard Matt Bullen." Right. There's Matt Bullen. So
yeah, but it's the weirdest thing, because if you look at what the gimmick is now, it's other than a security shirt, I wear my hair on my face.
Right.
I don't.
You could almost not wear it. No one would probably even. notice it was gone, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
So you're wrestling for Wrestlecentre, and along comes the idea of heel faction. So tell me how that was first brought to your attention.
You were at that show?
Yeah.
Literally, Tyler, I'm outside, I'm watching, what was that main event? No. I can't remember what the main event was. But anyways, I was watching the main event and I felt somebody come up and look, and it's Tyler. And he goes, when the bell rings, he goes, be here at the curtain, we're going out there. Okay. And so as I stood up there, bell rang, I see Tyler, he's like, you ready to go? I was like, yeah. Anyway, so we went out and he told me actually when we were walking to the ring, he's like, we're forming a group, you and Titus are standing, do Michael's pose, put your arms up.
Okay.
And that's all he said.
Okay. I believe the name heel faction wasn't even brought up yet. Like, there wasn't a name of the group yet? Because I believe that was brought up shortly afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Christopher Daniels, I believe, called it Razor Sharp or something in the promo, I remember.
Okay.
So I'm not sure who came up with the name, or all I remember was just going to the show and it's like, heel factions, throw the pinky up, that's going to be our deal.
And it was over big. What are your thoughts of working with Christopher Daniels?
Oh, it was really cool. And it wasn't like Marco cool, because it was the experience that he had and how quickly I picked up on, what he was doing. And he was very good at watching your stuff and saying, this is good, change this.
He's very honest.
Yeah, don't do this.
Right.
And we did some a tag match and some stuff together, and we had a really good tag match. So yeah, it was just mainly it was just great being with him, just because of the knowledge I say it all the time. I probably gained 10 years worth of knowledge in a year. Right. Just because I had him, I had Titus, who is protege of Pete, and Pete, who was trained by Leo and all those guys. Right. Memory serves me right. I could be getting them mixed up. Might be Gary, but anyway. So you had all those lineages, and so when I was in heel faction, I didn't question anything. I didn't politic or put my hand up. I just shut up and listen. Right. Right. This Titus wants me to do this. Christopher Daniels wants me to do this. This is what I'm doing. Right. Right.
You brought up Titus. What was it like working with him?
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, he's one of the few guys that I don't. Not that I shouldn't say that I think that they're pieces of garbage, but a lot of people in the wrestling I find are just really fake, and I don't associate with anybody. And it's not out of ignorance. It's not out of thinking I'm better than anybody. It's just that I just don't want to deal with it. Right. I don't want people knowing my business. I don't want people knowing where I live or what I do in my spare time. But Titus is just one of those guys where he just seems like he's a legit cool guy, and he's not out to screw you or be a douchebag. And when I went to the TCW show, I mainly just went to meet Mike, see Titus, and say hi to Pete. Mm-hmm.
Tyler Burns and Christopher Daniels. I know I can only speak personally. I've seen a couple times where they had some heated words, and there was some heat between those two, right?
Mm. Yeah, I would say
some creative differences, maybe.
Yeah.
I guess be safe to say. What was it like? What's it like work for Tyler? I work with him. I have my opinion on him, but what I'm interviewing you. So what do you think? What are your thoughts of Tyler Burns?
I never have anything bad to say about Tyler. I really don't. One thing that I've never done with Tyler and Jason, and I don't know if this maybe cost me opportunities or whatever the case may be, but I never called them all the time. Mm-hmm. I never said, hey, what's going on? Hey, I got an idea for me. Hey, push me like this, or hey, put me with this person. And it was sorry, I got a cold, by the way. It was just when I was in heel faction, it was, okay, just shut up, listen, and learn. Right. And I didn't care about the fact that, when I worked JP, he wanted to do a BS DQ. It was just being at that point and learning, right? So working with Tyler, it just boiled down to, I never bothered them. Mm-hmm. So he calls me and says, hey, Bully, this is what we got for you. Okay, awesome, thank you. Mm-hmm. We'll see you guys on whatever the date is. Right. And that's really, and then obviously dealing with them at the shows and doing some post-production stuff for the TV show. Yeah. But I don't get myself involved that deep, because to me it's not worth, I shouldn't say it's not worth getting yourself involved that deep, but I always knew where I was at and I knew what I needed to concentrate it on. And being a politicker or politicking for that main event spot when they're bringing in, you know, when you have a guy like JP who's going against Daniels and going against and Titus going against Bobby Roode, when you're that far in the business at that point, you don't politic for that stuff.
Right.
That's not stuff that you ask for, you know, until you're very comfortable and solid with what you're doing in there. Right. So I never called them and politicked with them. I never made them guarantees that I couldn't commit to. They called me up, they said this. I mean, I'm sure there was a few times where I went, hey, I'm not comfortable with this, or I don't like that, but, excuse me, but yeah, I just never dealt with them on that level. So I don't know if that saved me from, because, you know, I hear like all these horror stories, and I legit, like, swear to God, look at it and go, well, I've never had that type of interaction with them, him or Jason.
Right. A lot of fans, there was no conclusion to the heel faction. Christopher Daniels, you know, he never came back.
Right.
Eventually Titus left too, so it was just kind of whatever happened. So did you and Tyler ever talk about maybe we should do something, or bring in new members, or are we just going to forget it completely?
Yeah, we actually had a couple phone call conversations about that, actually. And then the issue was Daniel signed an exclusive deal to Ring of Honor. So it wasn't like he didn't want to come back, or maybe Tyler and Jason didn't want to have him back. Because, I mean, I've heard stories where him and Tyler got into it and he left, or they made him drop the belt to JP. It's like, no, he wanted to do that. He had no choice because he knew he was signing a deal with Ring of Honor. So he was all his commitments that he had on the table, he's fulfilling before he signed his deal up. Titus, don't know what happened there. Like, honestly don't. Just heard that he was leaving or went to TCW. And
what were your like? There was a time when it seemed like everyone was leaving. What were your thoughts during that time span? Like, you know, like Joey left, and I left, and Titus, like a bunch of people. It just seemed like everyone's leaving all at once. What was your train of thought going through that time?
Well, my thought from, like, what do you mean, like a personal or business level?
Yeah, well, both.
Well, from a personal level, there was a lot of guys there that I liked working with. I actually liked going to those shows. There was, probably a good year there where there was no politic or BS.
Yeah, the first year and a half was, to me, fantastic.
Yeah, and it was just a bunch of good guys having a good time, putting on good shows. From a business level, I didn't care.
Okay.
You know, who was leaving, because I was going to stay because the money was good. I was getting pushed in a good position. And it's not my business. I was about to say I'm an employee. Like, I'm not, like, I'm a contractor, right? So, like, I work for these guys, but they can do whatever they want. All I have the ability to do is say no.
Well, a lot of people throw that word exclusively around a lot. I hate that word. But they said that about you. You're exclusive to Wrestlecentre. What do you think of that word? Or can you work other companies, but you choose to only work for Wrestlecentre?
Well, it boils down to a lot of factors. It boils down to Tyler and Jason gave me an opportunity when nobody else would touch me. So
loyalty is very important to you.
Very important. You know, to anybody. You know, like, I'm loyal to anybody. Anybody that's helped me along the way or given me an opportunity. So it's loyalty. It's money. It's real life. You know, I can't go traveling around or drive 8 hours for $50. I can't. I can't do it. And the problem is when you got a bunch of great talent that are more worried about being on wrestling shows than making money, and they're willing to undercut, you have no choice. You know, it's like, okay, well, if you don't take the $50, then there's 4 other people that will. You know, so that plays into it. Now I got a business, you know, so I can't go away for 3 or 4 days. You know, it's just not feasible. So, you know, I got paid all right money to stay exclusive. For me, it was a win-win, because I couldn't, unless somebody's willing to pay me decent money, I couldn't travel anyway. So.
Did they ever pitch anything to you where you said flat out, no, I'm not doing? Or are you pretty open to doing just about anything?
Pitch anything that I wasn't cool doing? I don't think.
No.
I don't think I was cool with the Madison Miles thing. I think I tried to get that changed. I was like, I'd rather Spinebuster.
So anybody who doesn't know, you slap Matt.
Yeah.
I've got a huge pop.
Sure, well, of course.
Yeah. But yeah, you didn't think you would rather do something else other than hit it, physically hit it?
just not me as a person, and even that's something that I could see, like, because I guess like the character is just kind of an extension of who I am or whatever, I guess. But that wasn't even something I could see my character doing, just because it's like, I'm a heel, but I'm like a tough guy heel.
Right.
I don't go around smacking. I'd rather hit it with a spine buster. I thought that would have got a bigger pop hit with a really sick spine buster, but they wanted to do the smack. She was cool with it. Obviously, I went and talked with her parents. Right. They were fine with it, and
I was in the crowd that night. It was great.
Right.
But
maybe I think that would probably be. And I can't even remember I don't think I flat out refused. I think I just tried to get it changed, and then once I realized, okay, well, everybody's fine with it, well, then it is what it is, right?
Since you've been in Wrestlecentre, you have stepped in the ring, and I made a list. It's quite impressive. You've been in the ring with the likes of AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Jake Roberts, John Morrison, Kurt Angle, Lance Storm, Bobby Roode, Samoa Joe. Not too many people can say that.
No.
So does it drive you crazy when the keyboard warriors on Facebook and stuff, and they, you have this one guy that criticizes you constantly and calls you a backyarder and stuff, but when you stand back and look at your body of work and who you've been in the ring with, does it drive you crazy, those people that still to this day label you as a backyarder?
No. Doesn't in the least. Mainly because A, look who I've been in the ring with.
Yeah.
B, I don't. Most of the time, you got fake photos on your account because you just run your mouth.
Right.
So it's just one of those things where it's like me and my wife. Like my wife would be like, "Oh my God, did you see what they posted?" Which would be like, "No, what?" And they'll be like, "Oh, that's hilarious." That makes.
But sometimes you do take offense to it because I do see some things that you write back to fans.
Oh, that's just to get them to going even more.
Okay.
Yeah, that's nothing to do. Like I know there's this. I don't know what his name is, but the guy with he's got big teeth or whatever, and I was putting his photos. And
okay.
That's just to keep them going, right? And I guess when they're talking about you, they're keeping your name out there.
That's true. Yeah.
And that's good when you've got time in between shows and stuff, right? So.
A lot of people don't know, but this past spring you were going to go to an IHW event, the one in. At the the Cosmo, I believe. But then you weren't on the show. So how did you get approached to be on IHW, and then what happened? Because you weren't on the show anymore.
Right. No, what happened is I'm not sure exactly the layout, but Kevin Tyler messaged me and asked me if I wanted to. Excuse me, I got a badass reflex.
It's okay.
Kevin Tyler messaged me and asked me if I would be interested in coming up and working Pete in just a one-off match. I said, yeah, absolutely I would.
Right, because you're supposed to work Brody.
I jumped the gun at him. I said, absolutely. Like, as soon as he messaged me, he's like, of course. Like, didn't even think twice about it. And then, because as bad as it sounds, like, I don't really watch, like, a lot of, like, the local stuff, so I remember afterwards going oh crap, they have television.
Okay.
Right. One of the things when my agreement was with Tyler and Jason was I could take bookings. They just didn't want me booking out anywhere else that had television.
Right.
So at the show I mentioned to Tyler and Jason, I said, hey, this is what's going on. Are you guys cool with it? And it pretty much came down to they were like, well, if you go work there, then we'll, I don't think it was like that actually. Like, I don't think they were like, if you go work there, you can't work here. But it was like,
we prefer you not to.
Yeah, well, we already had a deal put in place.
Right.
God only knows what could happen down there. And I was like, well, I'm not worried about that. It's just a one-off match with Pete, right? And there was other things that played into a factor. Like I had, at the time, my business was selling Jason pizzas to sell to the forum. So I was making sometimes $700-800 just off that. Okay. Right. So and then obviously the payday and the fact that there was the agreement there, and it goes back to the loyalty thing, right? So yeah, it turned into, it was just like, okay, well, this is like a one-off deal. Like that's the way it was told to me by Kevin. Am I going to put thousands of dollars on the line at that point a month to just do that and then see what happens? I just wasn't a smart business move. Dumb.
Right.
Because, I mean, getting in there with Pete, and it was dumb that, you know, when I think about it, that, like, you know, I was even in a situation like that, because it was my doing. Because if I just would have said to Kevin, hey, this is my deal I got with Wrestlecentre.
Right.
But I just smarked for a second and jumped the gun
Right.
at it, right?
Did you speak to Pete about
I did,
it?
yeah. Yeah, no, he was, I don't know, I don't think he was cool with it. I don't know, like, he just said, yeah, I'm not, like, he pretty much just said, yeah, okay, not a problem.
Well, he's not the biggest fan of Wrestlecentre.
Yeah, well.
So
yeah.
maybe it might be that.
But it was
well.
just, you know, I didn't want him to feel like I was disrespecting him, or I didn't want to get in there and work him, because I couldn't think of anybody better to learn from. And he was one of the few guys, like, when he found out, like, you know, like when we did the heel faction thing, and he's like, all right, you know, he came up to me and he's like, what do you want you to do in the enforcer? So, you know, so do this, this, and this. And, you know, so he was somebody that, like, now when you see, like, the evolution, like, you know, how many years later, you know, a lot of that is more so stuff Pete told me than necessarily Daniels and Titus.
Right.
So I didn't want him to feel like there was disrespect there. But it was me, like, I jumped the gun, and,
Right.
you know, and I shouldn't have jumped the gun, but...
Yeah. You brought up the word disrespect. I have to ask, because I have to ask. Recently, two young guys, Justin and Connors, Sabotage, they're friends of mine, came out wearing t-shirts into a live event that said Bullen can't wrestle. I know you took great offense to it, so tell me a little bit of your thoughts when you first found out.
Oh, I was hot.
You're hot.
Hot.
So, was there a heat between you guys beforehand? Because
No.
for some reason, you and Justin worked together at Wrestlecentre.
Yeah.
You did that whole great, I love the training thing
Right.
on Voltis that you guys did and stuff.
Yeah.
So, how did that happen? Why did it happen?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you the whole story, but I don't want to get into too many details because I'm not like out to like shit on anybody.
Right.
But it just one day what happened is I got called over to the Wrestlecentre studios to do something, like for the studio where they film like edit the Wrestlecentre footage.
Yeah.
I think it was to do commentary. So anyways, I was in there, and Ryan Durenford, right? He was in there, and they had him doing that whole mentor thing with Justin, Brett, and I want to say, was it Jordan? I don't remember. Don't watch the television show that much. So. But anyways, it was something like that, and he was just in there, and he was just like, and he didn't know like I was outside the door, and to a degree, he was definitely like dog shit on him, right? And you know, and it was just one of those things where it was just like, oh, okay, well, that's not cool, and I never said anything, right? And then it was just one of those things where like you see him on social media, and he'll say something. And then he'll contradict it and say something else, right? And he said something about like the campground shows, and all he said was like, you know, but you knew that was going to happen, and you went up there anyways. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You know, or something like that. And then it just turned into this big like shit fest.
Right. I remember. Right? I was reading it all day.
Yeah, and the only reason why I said something was just because like, you know, I didn't really care for the guy much anyways to begin with. And then, so it to me, like, I was hot because, like, it's like, you know, this guy's sitting here and he's saying shit, like, all this shit about you guys, and then you guys are going to wear t-shirts out there that says that I can't wrestle, when all I tried to do, especially with Justin, because I'm going to be honest, I couldn't stand Brad. I mean, I'm sure you could tell in the ring they used to smack the shit out of him, and his face would get all swelled up, but I couldn't stand him. But I really liked Justin. Like, I thought he was a really good worker. You know, he was really green, but he had great timing, and he listened, and he did what he had to do to get the match. Even, you know, if there was like a mistake in there, he was very good at covering it up. And so I mean, like, I seen like a lot of potential, and then like he went on his way or whatever, and it was just, you know, I seen him at the TCW show and sat there and talked with him and Matt. Okay. You know, and then a couple weeks later, I mentioned that one post on Facebook, and it just went from that to this big long shit fest. On there, everybody's dogging me, and then those shirts get worn at the UCW show.
And how did you first learn about them?
Somebody sent me a picture of it over Facebook.
That night?
That night or the next morning,
okay.
I don't remember.
And your first thought was?
Motherfuckers.
And then you thought I made them.
I did.
Which I didn't.
And I was mad. Yeah. And then I calmed down. And I realized that, I realized it for what it was. Is they were green. They don't know any better. It is what it is.
I had to ask because the only reason why I knew you.
But I'm not a wrestler though. I'm a worker, right? There's a difference.
Okay.
Okay. Steve Arsenal, Marcus Burke, those guys are wrestlers. Julian Young is definitely a wrestler, right? I'm a worker.
So if they came out with Bullen's not a worker, you'd be even more hot.
Well, I would be doing that.
Yeah, I was home one day and I was going to shoot you a message about something and I was like, Matt Bullen's not my friend anymore. I was like, it's those friggin' t-shirts.
Yeah,
he thinks I made them.
Yeah, it was just like delete, I'm done.
I was so upset. And I don't know, I think I sent you like 3 messages before you finally, all right, you didn't do them. I think even Madison told me that she told you I didn't.
Yeah. Which was, I always thought was like, you know, because like, I always wanted, there's certain guys that I always try to stay in contact with, like even when they left Wrestlecentre. But I feel like also in ways that so many people have such an issue with Wrestlecentre, and it's like I get attacked because of it.
Because you're one of the last.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh well, this guy's gonna be Tyler and Jason's buddy because he's willing to stick there through all the BS.
Right.
Let's not ask him why he sticks around. Let's just assume it's because of the money, or assume because he gets put in top spots because they're his friends.
Yeah.
Which isn't the case.
And they seem to loosen their ropes with the wrestlers. Like JP's wrestling UCW now, and Tommy Starr is going everywhere and stuff. So it seems, maybe I don't know, I'm not there, but it seems like they've loosened up their stance a little bit.
Well, yeah, I guess, but I mean, everybody have their own deals and stuff. And I remember like hearing something one time, like somebody said that like you came up to everybody and said you couldn't work anywhere, like except for them, and they never said that to me. Right. The only thing that was ever said to me was, like, we just don't want you doing the TV stuff.
Right.
And that's fine, And I wasn't looking at it from like, is that going to cost me money? They were the only guys at that time that was booking me. Right. That wanted to book me.
Right.
You guys still do want to book me.
Personally, your life is thriving. Your wife or girlfriend? Wife is expecting a child.
Twins. Jeez. Boys, yeah.
Tag team?
Never. I would never, ever let them into the wrestling business.
Really?
No.
And she's due soon?
Yeah, for 4 weeks.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wrestling-wise, do you see yourself doing this for a long period of time in the future? Or do you think, you start your own business now, you mentioned your pizza business and stuff. Is wrestling going to be a thing of the past as well?
Eventually.
Yeah.
Probably a couple of years.
Yeah?
Yeah. I knew, I was never going to get to WWE and stuff. And not when I broke my back and, it was just, that's pretty much how that whole NWA thing going back to that started. It was like, I broke my back. I was like, well, I wonder if I could just have one more cool match or whatever. And then it progressed into all this. So, I see myself probably, maybe 2 years max sticking around.
Okay. Looking back, do you have a favorite match? Like if I was good to make a Matt Bullen DVD, what one match would you want on there?
I don't know. That's hard because there's certain things I like about a lot of the matches I've been in. The tags that we did with like that one with me and Titus against Shane Stevens. I like that match. That was a really fun one. The tag with Christopher Daniels. That was another good one. I like working Josh Riddick Stone, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of those are on video or not, but I like working him. Like even matches that I had with him in UCW are still ones that
He's one of the nicest guys.
Oh, he's an awesome guy. Which again, I put him in the same category of people I put Titus in, right? Just genuine good people.
Do you have a best friend in the business?
No.
No one.
No.
You don't go to after parties or anything, do you?
No, I don't drink really. Yeah, I went to one wrestling.
You went to WrestleMania
got
party.
Smashed
and you
like
disappeared.
Yeah, I got smashed like halfway through.
I was like, where did Matt go?
I'm gonna throw up. No, I don't drink. I don't. I'm not a big. I don't know. I like making money. That's my hobby. Somebody wants to make money, they'll be your best friend. Yeah.
Wrestlecentre has an event coming up November 10th, headlined by Cody Rhodes.
Yep.
I imagine you're on the show. Do you know what's going on or who you're facing yet? Or?
No, they'll tell me a couple weeks out. So Hopefully not JP.
JP's still their champion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not a huge JP fan, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you work with him.
Yeah, I work with him, so. And I always thought like JP was like a great guy, you know. And then we did that. What was that match where he was leaving Wrestlecentre? They had to take the belt off of him. Somehow, it turned into like they wanted me like to beat him clean and take the belt. And then he was like, "Oh no, I'm not going to do that. It's a count out, right?"
Okay.
And then since then, it was just kind of like, well, you know, like if you're leaving, why would you do that, right?
Right.
You know, so just ever since then, it just kind of like, you know, he's one of those guys where, you know, he's got like, you know, different motives than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had great matches with him, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But personally, we're not like great buddies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go hang out with him or anything like that.
Well, I mean, all the best to you. Your personal life, baby's on the way. Your career at Wrestlecentre is still going. Yeah, like I said, November 10th, Wrestlecentre's at the Halifax Multi-Purpose Center.
Cody Rhodes getting a spine buster.
There, you heard it first.
What do you think?
Hey, I'm gonna be there. I'll be in the audience. I'll pay for my ticket.
Well, you come out and Fuji him with the flower.
Yes.
I'll hit him with the buster.
I'll just do it. Kayfabe. I'll just jump over and throw powder in his face.
That's cool. It's predetermined to be disgusting right now. I've got creative control in my contract.
There you go. Exclusive. Dave Boyce is returning. Well, Matt, thank you so much.
Thanks,
it's always a pleasure talking.
Absolutely.
Thankfully, we're Facebook friends again. Anyway, I'm Dave Boyce. This is Matt Bullen. Check him out. Wrestlecentre, November 10th. Thanks a lot.